Okay. See, throw it back. Start a riot. See, throw it back. Start a riot. See, throw it back. Start a riot. I call that kick back. Start a riot. Yes, he got a.
Hello, my name is Chloe Jones. I'm 18 years old, and today I will be giving you 10 facts I think you should know if you live in America. George Washington became the first president of the United States under the Constitution in 1789. We had our first black president of the United States in 2008, 219 years later. Segregation was legally abolished in 1954, 178 years after America was founded in 1776. Black people are still being oppressed today, 244 years later. Non-Hispanic blacks make up 13.4% of America's population, yet more than 30% of their prison population. When it comes to sentencing, as the amount of years increases, the disparity between whites and blacks convicted increases greatly. The more years, the less likely a white person is to be convicted, whereas for blacks, the greater the sentence, the more likely you are of conviction. If blacks were incarcerated at the same rate as whites, the prison population would decrease by 40%. George Floyd, a black 46-year-old father of two, was murdered in Minneapolis by white police officer Derek Chauvin on Monday, May 25, 2020. George Floyd was said to have used an illegitimate $20 bill at a nearby store, and Chauvin, along with 3 other officers, were called to the scene. In an alleged attempt to de-escalate the situation with unarmed George Floyd, Chauvin knelt on Floyd's neck for several minutes while he profusely stated he was unable to breathe, leading to his death. The video of Floyd was released the day of his death. As most of you may know, recently, Amy Cooper, a New York City resident, attempted to file a false police report on Christian Cooper while walking her dog in Central Park. Christian requested Amy put her dog on a leash as Central Park rules require, and Amy threatened to call the police and state that an African-American man was threatening her. Filing a false police report would be considered a misdemeanor in New York State, same as forgery of any bill less than $250 would be considered in Minneapolis. Amy Cooper lost her job. George Floyd lost his life. In a similar situation, Eric Gardner, a black 43-year-old husband and father of 6, died on July 17, 2014 in Staten Island, New York, after NYPD officer Daniel Pantaleo put him in a chokehold while arresting him for selling untaxed cigarettes at a corner store near the Staten Island ferry terminal. Please keep in mind that Eric had multiple encounters previously with the NYPD regarding these same misdemeanor charges. Never was Gardner armed. Good thing this arrest was video recorded, because according to the New York Times, the initial report on Gardner's death had no information regarding the contact to his neck. There is a 7+ minute video of Eric Gardner laying unconscious on the floor while EMS talks to him in an attempt to get him onto the stretcher and into the ambulance to provide medical attention. 7+ minutes and no life-saving techniques were used aside from pulse reading. Videos of this incident did not begin to surface, and the news did not start covering the story until months later. 5 years later, 4 years and 364 days to be exact, the charges against one of the officers involved in Gardner's murder were dropped. Keep in mind there were 2+ officers on the scene, but only one was fired and tried. On February 23, 2020, 23-year-old Ahmad Arbor was murdered in Georgia by 2 white men, Travis and Gregory McMichael, while taking a run in a local neighborhood. Arbor was unarmed and shot by civilians, not police officers. The video was not released until May, and the McMichaels were not arrested until May 7th, 10.5 weeks after the murder of Ahmad Arbor. To switch up the scene a little bit, I'm going to talk about 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, who was murdered in Florida. Some of you may know this story already, so I'm going to keep it brief, but on February 26, 2012, while walking home to his father's fiance's house where he had been staying, Trayvon was shot in the chest by George Zimmerman, a neighborhood watch volunteer. Years later, with an all-female jury with 1 black juror, George Zimmerman was found not guilty on all charges. The jury had the option of convicting George of second-degree murder or manslaughter. The jury believed Zimmerman to be guilty of none of the charges and sent him home free. Keep in mind once again, Trayvon Martin was an unarmed minor. Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Michael Brown, Eric Gardner, Sandra Bland, Alton Sterling, Terrence Crutcher, James Clark, Walter Scott, Trayvon Martin, Ahmad Arbor, George Floyd, just to name a few. Killed and not convicted, unarmed yet harmed. Don't add to the list. Stay safe, stay informed. I love you even if I don't know you, and I'll see you next time. Go vote.
This is America. Don't got you slipping up. Look how I'm living up. Police be tripping up. Yeah, this is America. Guns in my area. I got the strap.
Now they always say congratulations.